Allow the ball to turn.
He's tossed that up. Oh, it's a great bit of bowling there. He's taken the outside edge. And if he'd had a slip in, I think that might have been out. That's turned. You see, the little bit slower you bowl, the more it turns. Another variation the left-arm bowler might use is what we call a Chinaman. Sounds a little bit Far Eastern, but not really. Well, actually what it is a left-hander's leg break, okay? So instead of bowling an orthodox ball, as we have been doing, which is the off break, okay, we bowl the leg break. And therefore it's just like a leg break, and actually turns into the right-hander as an off break. Now this is something that takes a lot of practice, not easy to perform, and something that you'd have to work very hard in order to achieve. With me today, I've got David Richardson, the South African wicketkeeper, who's going to explain to us exactly what his role is. Dave.
I think the most important aspect of a wicketkeeper is obviously to catch every ball that comes his way. But apart from that, you've got to be enthusiastic in the field, really get the guys going right through a long, hot day of 6 or 7 hours. And then the other secondary aspects of a wicketkeeper, you've got to make sure that you're in a position to advise your captain on tactics, how the ball is swinging, if it is swinging at all, if it's spinning, who's bowling well, are we bowling the right line, etc.
Right. And if you're going to teach a youngster to keep wickets, where does he have to start? What's the hardest part?
I think the most difficult part of keeping, and it takes a lot of experience, is keeping to the spinners, standing right up to the wickets. The most important thing is obviously to be comfortable in your stance, feet comfortably apart, normally about shoulder width apart, hands relaxed in front of you, palms facing the direction from which the ball is coming, hands together, very important.
You see some youngsters start by standing behind the stumps because they're a bit worried about the ball going down the leg side. How do you react to that?
Well, obviously you've got to be able to see the ball to catch it, and if you're standing behind the stumps, your view of the ball is going to be impeded by the batsman. So you've got to give yourself a little bit of width, stand just wide of the stumps, and then you've got a clear view of the ball leaving the bowler's hand.
Some batsmen pick the bat up crooked, and does that affect your eye line? And if it does, what do you do about it?
It's quite a problem sometimes. Quite a few batsmen lift the bat up almost directly level with your eyes, and then all I try and do is really either just go a little bit lower, or maybe just stretch a little bit above, or even go a little bit wider.
Okay, so let's go through that again, those points. It's very important. You notice Dave's gone down, his palms are wide apart, his feet are shoulder width apart, his eye level is good there, and he's ready now to take the ball.
Important thing here, when taking the ball, try and take the ball, or first of all, try and stay down, keep your eyes level with the ball, and then only come up as the ball is rising. So if I'm taking the ball, I'm going to try and take it with my head in line with the ball, fingers pointing down, elbows slightly bent, and as the ball comes, I can just give a little bit as I take the ball. Right. So it's from the stance, there, head in line, taking the ball.
Now if the ball keeps low, Dave, you know, some wickets are worse than others, if the ball keeps low, how do you cope with that situation?
Well, you've got to really concentrate then on making sure that you keep your head down, staying down right to the last minute as it pitches, only starting to come up with your hands. Okay. Keep your hands low and then come up with the level of the ball.
Right. Now the other thing that's always intrigued me is how do wicketkeepers stop the ball down the leg side? You know, the batsman's in the way and the ball's going down the leg side, and it seems to me it must be 4 byes all the time. So Dave, you know, talk us through that.
That's probably the most difficult aspect of wicketkeeping, taking the ball down the leg side, because it's going to disappear from view for a fraction of a second as it goes past the batsman, depending on his size. But what I think the most important thing is to do good footwork. Again, keep the hands low, get your feet across, but also try and get your head across first so that you can give yourself the best opportunity of seeing the ball early. So get your head across early, get your feet going nicely, keeping your hands low, and then also being able to ride with the ball if it should bounce more than you expect.
I noticed that your back foot there has gone back away from the stumps. Why is that?
Yeah, I think that obviously you must be close enough that if you take the ball, you can still reach the stumps. But if you shut yourself up like this and the ball bounces, you're jammed in. You've got no room to move. So the idea is just to keep your foot open a little bit, or keep your chest open, so that you can ride with the bouncing ball.
Okay. That's good. Okay, let's see Dave demonstrate that in the middle.
Remember the wicketkeeper's motto, every ball is mine. Hands together, eyes level, feet shoulder width apart. Move your head into line with the ball and take it as it rises.
Right, we've dealt with the wicketkeeper standing up, and now we're going to deal with the wicketkeeper standing back. Dave, what's the basic difference between standing up and standing back?
Well, standing up, obviously the most important is just taking the ball correctly. Standing back, you're looking to be more like a goalkeeper, to cover as much ground as you can, diving to your right, down the leg side.
And how far do you stand back?
A lot will depend on the pace of the bowler and the bounce of the wicket. I always try and stand back far enough that I've got enough reaction time, number one, and then also try and take the ball as it's starting its downward movement.
Okay, so what we're looking for here is the pace of the bowler, the bounce of the pitch, and you're actually going to take the ball on its way down.
Yeah, obviously, ideally, I'd like to take the ball around about knee height, but you're going to play on some wickets which don't get up much higher than ankle height, and then you're going to be, it'll be more difficult and you'll have to stand closer.
Now, if it's a right arm over bowler, how wide would you look to stand with the batsman there? Would you look to stand wide to get the outside edges? Or
well, again, obviously the basis is making sure you've got a clear view of the ball as it leaves the bowler's hand. But I think what is quite nice is to try and stand as close as you can to the stumps so that you can cover the leg side. You've got the slips to help you on the offside, and also you can then maybe reach the inside edge easier than if you were standing wide.
Okay, so there we are. We've got the keeper standing slightly closer to the right arm over the wicket. What about the left arm going across the batsman, left arm over the wicket?
You're going to have to move a couple of steps to your right or towards the offside, simply because he's bowling from a much different angle, and you're not going to be able to see the ball. It's going to again be obscured by the batsman if you stood in the same place.
Right. Right arm over the wicket, Dave. Left-handed batsman. Same principles, or?
Exactly same principles. Right arm over the wicket, you're going to go a little bit wider. If he's coming around the wicket, you can stand straight there again. Okay. Now, where do you actually look to take the ball? I find that what I try and do is always take the ball slightly on my inside, almost in line with it would on the offside on my left foot. So if I can get my body just outside the ball, if it gives me an extra half a metre, should he nick it, and I can maybe don't have to dive. Right. And what about the ball that's Alan Donald or Brett Schultz really coming through? I think the basic principles of catching the ball, you've got to keep your fingers either pointing down, and if it gets too high, too awkward here, you've got to switch and your fingers are pointing upwards so that you can ride with the ball easier and you won't get here, break any fingers. What do you find that there's an awkward height, isn't there, where you're actually in between the two? Do you try to get the body out of the way there to take it? Again, if you follow the same principles of keeping your body outside the ball slightly, you're going to have the room to ride with the ball if it gets up and gets up too high, and you can ride with it up there. Okay, right, that's great. Let's see Dave demonstrate that in the middle now. So, see how he moves and takes it on the inside of his left leg. Good. Right, that was to the left-hander. And now he's going to practice taking the ball in his right hand. See how he straightens his arm. That's good. Okay, now in his left hand. Again. Okay, he's going to straighten his arm again. That's it. He keeps his gloves on line and he takes the ball. And now the one above his head. He uses his strong hand always to catch the ball. That's it. Okay, now we're going to see Dave diving and rolling, first to his right with one hand.
As he catches the ball, Dave rolls onto his shoulders to stop the elbows from hitting the ground and jarring, which may cause him to spill the ball.
See how he rolls over. The ball is low and he's got to get down low with two hands.
As wicketkeeper, you will certainly always be in the game.
As you heard Dave say earlier, it's very important for him to catch the ball cleanly. So obviously it's very important, Dave, for you to have a really good pair of wicket-keeping gloves. What do you look for? I tend to favour the tailored variety of glove, nice, neat, narrow cuffs, so that they don't get too cumbersome. But then the most important aspect is that they must be
he must be able to feel the ball. And they mustn't, when you buy gloves, they tend to be a little bit stiff. And it's important to work them in and to try and develop a kind of a cup in that area where we try and catch the ball. Try and work them into that kind of mold and get them a bit flexible and loose so you can catch the ball, feel it nicely. And then the other aspect, of course, is that the rubber surface must be kept good. It's no good having a smooth, no dimples on the glove. The ball is just going to slip out. For instance, with those now, you should really have the rubber replaced. Also, that kind of thing, very untidy. Good to have some glue in your bag, and when it often does happen that the fast bowlers sort of loosen things up, and you just got to stick it back down.
Right, and what about protection for your hands? I've got a pair of inners here from a youngster. He'd struggle taking Alan Donald with those, wouldn't he?
Yes, I think ideally, you know, you're going to probably get by with medium paces and spinners with just the normal cotton inners, but ideally if you could get a pair, chamois leather is very nice, but to have an extra little bit of padding in the palm or in that area, that cupped area which I spoke about earlier where you catch the ball. Right. That's most important.
I remember Alan Knott using plasticine in his hand just inside. Have you ever used anything like that?
I try and avoid it initially because, as I say, it's nice to feel the ball in your hand, but you are going to suffer bruising, and then it's necessary to protect your hand. And these days you don't have to use steak like they used to do, and they've got some nice materials you can put in there. Right.
And now, obviously, the game's undertaken a radical change. These pads, I mean, in my day, the wicketkeeper in my school team used to stop it with his pads, but these are very small, very light. Isn't it not important to protect your legs, or?
Well, hopefully you're not going to be doing the old sort of trying to trap it with your knees anymore. So most important is that they're light and you can move freely, and footwork in wicket keeping is as important as anything else, and so it's important to have pads that are not too cumbersome and are light.
Right, so that's nice. So how do you clean these, by the way? They look probably washable almost.
Yeah, these days, you know, they're not like the old buckskin. These days you just need a wet cloth and that'll do the trick.
Right. Okay, so there you see, there you have it. You've got wicket keeping, look after the palms. Very important that you have glue in your bag. It's very important that you re-rubber these so that the rubber, you can actually see the pimple in them. And whatever glove you have, make sure they're supple and it's easy to catch the ball. With me today, I've got Hansi Cronje, who's going to discuss the art of captaincy. Welcome, Hansi.
Morning, Bob.
Hansi, what do you think of the main qualities a captain should have?
Bob, well, I've been fortunate to play with and against some of the best captains in the world. And I think there are four main qualities that are very important. I think the first one, to me, is obviously a knowledge of the game and also a feel for the game. Secondly, I think it's important that the captain is always on top of his game. He must never feel under threat with his selection in the team. Thirdly, I think communication skills are very important, and we can elaborate on that a bit later. And fourthly, I think the man management side is very important. First of all, you need to know what the rules of the competition is that you're playing in. In other words, in a one-day tournament, you certainly have different rules where you're playing all over the different continents of the world. But also, when you're playing at club level, you have certain rules of certain competitions, and you've got to study those rules and try and get maximum performance out of that.
What about field placings? How important do you see that in your role as a captain?
Well, I think it's very important to know your individual bowlers, to know what sort of field they like to bowl at, to study the batsmen that you're playing against, to know where they hit the ball, and specifically where they hit the ball in the air. So you can try and not only cut off the runs, but also try and get as many wickets as soon as you possibly can. Field placings also, through attacking field placings, you can put in a lot of pressure onto the batsman, and in that way create maybe getting another wicket.
Hansi, you mentioned that the captain should be on top of his game. Can you elaborate on that point?
Yes, Bob, I think 9 times out of 10 the captain is always involved in selection. And I think the last thing that a captain really wants is to be able to sit down with the selectors and actually having to force his own way into the team. I think also that the captain needs to earn the respect of the players. And it's not something that you can demand, it's something that you earn through either the way you bat or the way you field or the way you bowl. I think a great example of this is somebody like Kepler Wessels, who definitely earned the respect of the players through his guts and determination playing long innings as a test level.
I played with Mike Brearley, and he wasn't such a good player, at least at test level, as perhaps yourself or Kepler Wessels or someone like that. But he gained the respect of the players in a different way.
Yes, I think, Bob, you know, whether you bat at number 6 or 7 or whether you don't bat at all, you definitely get captains that are very inspirational, people that only from their presence in the team certainly lifts everyone and has got that ability and the knack of getting the best out of players who don't always contribute with the bat or the ball necessarily, but who can get the best out of players. But I still believe that if a player contributes and he wins the odd game for his side, in that way it helps him a little bit from getting his message across to the players.
How do you see communication in cricket as being important?
Well, Bob, I think we can break it down into 3. Communication before the game, communication during the game, and also communication after the game with the press and the media. To come back to the first point, I think communication before the game, we spoke a little bit about being left out of the team. How do you communicate with that player? Also, I think it's important to communicate your game plans to your team, i.e. through a team talk before, or individual dinner the night before, or maybe just 5 minutes before the game. Just tell them exactly what you expect from each player and what their individual roles will be. Communication during the game, I think it's important for the captain to communicate with bowlers, ask the bowler what sort of field he wants, ask the different players, senior players, how do they feel we can get this batsman out, what have they picked up in the last half an hour, how can we change the situation. Also during breaks, at lunchtime, maybe for instance, we can sit down and talk about the next target from the session from lunch until tea. What is the target of the team? How many runs do we want to score? Are we going to declare? Are we looking at a declaration? How many wickets do we want? What are the targets for that session? And then communicating this effectively with the batsmen that are in the middle. It's not always easy to communicate that if you're a captain and you're off the field. And that's where the gloves will come onto the field and maybe use a communication through the 12th man. The last part of communication, Bob, is communicating with the media and with the press afterwards. I think it's important for you to have a good relationship with the press and to be open to them.
Nice for you to get amongst the runs.
Yeah, for a change. Always nice to get some runs, but it's nice to walk into the crease when there's 180 on the board.
Fancy man management skills are vital for a captain. What advice would you give to youngsters on how to handle their players?
Well, Bob, I think it's the most difficult quality of a captain is to try and get the best out of his players. Somebody once said that you've got to try and make the player feel more important than what he thinks he is. And it's so important to understand the individual. I think it's, you know, in team sport it's always hard to motivate the whole entire team because you've got 10 individuals who are all totally different. And you need to understand and know each individual by heart. And if you want to get the best out of this individual, you need to get behind him, encourage him and make him feel very, very important. Also, you've got to try and be a little bit patient with individuals sometimes because not everyone is the same. Not everyone will put in the same amount of work. And, you know, sometimes they need a little bit of encouragement and a little bit softening up. But on the other hand, you also need to be hard at times. And I think that's where a captain's skill and quality come in, and to understand the situation and to understand the individual.
Do you use other players in your side to help you do this, or is it just you? Do you use the coach, for example, or senior player, or wicketkeeper, whatever? I mean,
well, from my personal experiences, I've been fortunate to be working with a very professional outfit, and I think the coach helps in a way that he understands the players, he knows the situation sometimes, and you can use his input of the players to try and understand the player better. But you also have to communicate with some of the senior players. I specifically look at someone like Dave Richardson in the team as a wicketkeeper, and as a senior player, and get a lot of advice from him to try and sum up the situation and to know what the lads need at that certain time.
If you're looking to motivate people, and sometimes you get people left out of the side, and that's very hard. I know we've discussed this before. You know, that's the hardest thing is to leave people on the side. But if you get someone really disappointed, how would you deal with that?
I think this is where communication comes in under man management. Your players need to feel important. They need to feel part of the whole setup. You know that this is the best 11 under your selection meeting, and these are the guys who are going to do the job, but they're equally as important, and they must just keep training as hard as they possibly can, make them feel important, and make them contribute in another way.
So being a captain is a pretty responsible job.
Yeah, I don't think it's the easiest job in the world, but I think it's very enjoyable, and if you have success in the end of the day, it's even more satisfying.
So if you take on the role of a captain in your side, just remember, look after your players. They're important to your success. Hansi, we've discussed all the leadership qualities. How does this relate to the beautiful club environment we are here and schools environment? Let's talk schools first.
Well, I think, Bob, from a very young age, it's important that the coach or the teacher has a good relationship with the captain, because obviously if you're under 11 or under 13, the captain is not going to know everything, and it's very important for the coach or the master to relate to him and to communicate to him the importance of the good skills and the leadership qualities. And I think from that way the captain will then learn and become a better captain.
What about field placings?
Well, I've got a fantastic story about what happened to me when I was under 13. We played in a tournament in Durban, and Neil Hartley, who was then our overseas professional for the under 13 side, handed me a sheet of paper with some bowling field placings for an off spinner. And when things became very, very tense out there, the opposition needed 20 runs, we needed 2 wickets, I stopped the game, got out the sheet of paper and put the fielders in the right place. And you know, fortunately we won the game. But I think that's the sort of thing we're talking about, that you need to explain to the kids how to set the field, what to do, certain qualities, and that's the only way the under 13s will start learning about captaincy and the skills of captain, because I do believe the importance of a school captain is very much limited to setting the field in the right place, doing the toss, maybe helping with putting up the names on the board, and keeping the guys encouraged, helping them to know a little bit more about the game, certain things that you do and don't on the field, those sort of things.
How would you sort of look for a captain? What would you look sort of for the actual type of child that would become a captain?
I think somebody that we've spoken a bit about respect. I think somebody that is respected amongst his fellow players, someone that is obviously, it helps when you're a goodish player, so that you can have the respect from the players. And then obviously somebody that can easily relate to the other guys, who can communicate, and then also have a certain knowledge of the game. Someone that shows interest in the game and wants to improve his own game.
Thanks, Hansi. So as you can see, the younger the captain, the more he needs guidance. The school teacher will help him, and we think that's right. And as he gets older, slowly that privilege will be taken away, and he'll have to use his own knowledge, until he gets to the stage where he becomes an international captain like Hansi, and he gets stuck into it by himself. Hansi, the role of the captain and the coach, where do you see the dividing line?
First of all, let me just say that it's important for the coach and the captain to have a good relationship. They need to have an understanding. I think from a personal point of view, I'd like to know the coach is there for the preparation of the side. He's there to prepare the guys in the morning of the game, to look after the technical side, to look after the improvement of the skills of the players, to handle players who would like attention during the game. Whereas the captain is more there for on-the-field duties. Once the game started, now the captain takes charge. Also, when we talk about preparing for the game, talking about strategies, the coach and the captain needs to have good relationship there. But I feel that the coach is more into the preparing side of things and the coaching side of things, where the captain is in charge once the game is on the go.
What about a club game where the captain hasn't got a coach?
Yeah, obviously when you play at club level, and you don't have a coach, the responsibilities of the captain are so much bigger. He needs to make sure the guys are well prepared, warmed up, ready to go into play, communicate the batting order to everyone. Everybody knows what their roles are, and they're going to make sure that things go accordingly. And you know, also the captain is in charge now of helping players along to bridge the gap between school cricket and first-class cricket. Well, that's where club cricket comes in, and it's his main role then to prepare those players for provincial level.
So he's actually running the nets at club level as well, which must be a terrific burden for him.
Yes, and I think more often than not the club captain is one of your more experienced players. It always helps if the club captain is somebody that has played at the provincial level, so at least he knows what the standards are at provincial level, and hopefully he can guide the young players to move into that provincial setup.
Do you think the captain should take all the responsibility, or should he delegate some of that?
No, I think if the captain wants to try and do everything himself, he's going to find difficulty in doing that. Speaking from a personal point of view, I prefer handing down some of and delegating some of the responsibilities to the coach. And the coach can handle certain off-the-field duties, some external pressures, the media, some of the press. Also, if players are going through a bad run and the captain can't always attend to all the players, then he would like to delegate some of that to the coach. And that's why the understanding and the relationship between the coach is so important.
So Hansi, you're going out to toss. What are you going to do, bat or bowl?
I think, Bob, firstly, let me just say that I think we must move away from putting too much emphasis on the importance of winning the toss. I think the toss essentially is only there to start the game. And, you know, if you manage to win the toss, then only is it important that you make the right decision, whether you're going to bat first or bowl first. Now, after speaking to the coach, speaking to some of the senior players, looking at the surface, assessing the surface, looking at the overhead conditions, then only will you make the decision whether you want to bat or bowl. And also communicate with your opening batsmen, communicate with your bowlers. How do they feel? What do they think is the right thing to do on the day?
Okay, so you won the toss, you're batting. What do you tell your openers?
I think depending on the situation, again, one-day cricket, tell your openers to establish a good partnership, but also put a lot of emphasis on the rate that they're batting at. So you need to communicate with them what a good total might be. They need to feed back to the captain what they think, and in the middle what's happening. Five-day cricket, something different. The role for a captain is to communicate with the batsmen, to tell them that we really want to go to lunch without the prospect of losing a wicket, or maybe just one wicket, still score at a decent rate, because at the end of the day we need to have enough time to bowl the opposition out.
Hansi, is there an ideal position for a captain to bat in?
Well, Bob, I think it's a very hard question to answer. I think ideally a captain, if he's a batsman, would like to have a little bit of a rest before he goes into bat after a long time in the field, because your concentration has been so much focused on getting the opposition out and trying to encourage your bowlers that you sometimes don't have enough time to collect your thoughts. But there is another school of thought where, for instance, someone like Kepler Wessels, who went in straight away after a long day in the field, going straight in there to bat and to lead from the front. You know, there are different opinions about that. You either lead from the front, or you want to have a bit of a break, gather your thoughts and bat in the middle.
As a captain, what would be your sort of ideal batting order? You know, for example, 1 to 6, say, of your top batsmen. What type of player would you like in those positions?
Well, I think you're looking at your numbers 1 and 2 to basically establish a good partnership, to look after the new ball, to try and bat through the new ball, set a good platform there for your stroke makers. Your stroke makers are probably your batsman number 3, 4 and 5. Your number 6 is your anchor man, the guy who's going to come in and being able to accelerate the scoring rate if needs be, or be there if you're 3 or 4 wickets down, you're in a bit of trouble. He's going to be your anchor man.
How important is the tail for you, 7 to 11?
I think nowadays it's become very important for the batsman number 7 to 11 to contribute as well. You know, it's very, very frustrating for a captain if the tail enders, so-called tail enders, walk into the crease and they hang around for a long time, and they can put a partnership together. I think Paul Adams showed it in at Newlands with his partnership with Dave Richardson that can turn innings.
Any other things that you feel that a captain should be sort of thinking about and dealing with in that situation?
Well, I think basically just to set targets for individuals, stuff like how many runs we need for the session, that sort of thing, which is also a positive way of looking at it. How many runs we should score rather than not how many wickets we shouldn't lose.
The great Australian batsman Sir Donald Bradman once said in his book The Art of Cricket that a captain should be able to set a field by the way a batsman holds the bat or the way he plays. Hansi, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I agree with that, Bob. I think it's important for a captain to have a certain gut feel about the way players play and to be a step ahead of their next move. I think if you have a feeling that somebody might nick off to an outswing bowler, bring in another slip or maybe move the slip a little bit wider. Always try and be a step ahead. I think it's often we see a captain moving a fielder after the ball had gone through the gap rather than do it a step ahead. And I think that's a gut feel that you need to have. It's not always easy, but it's something that you certainly can acquire through experience and through maybe talking to different individuals, hearing what teammates have to say and then going for it.
Okay, there you are. Well, let's go and have a look at how we set the fields and the grips that we've got to look at in order to be able to judge those fields from. Let's look at the right-hander's closed stance. This means he will be a much more dominant offside player. His feet are in an orthodox position, but a telling point is the distance between his top and bottom hand. This could be a sign that he will lift the ball in the air when driving. The left-hander's stance is very different. It is much more open, which means he is likely to have more problems outside the off-stump. His grip also shows a dominant bottom hand, showing a preference for the leg side shots.
It's vital for the players to understand the captain and to get used to his signals. For instance, if a captain wants to move a player 5 yards to the left, the signal will be 5 yards to the left. If he wants to move him 10 yards to the right, for instance, he points 10 fingers towards the fielder to the right. Okay, and then the fielder has to move quickly into position. When we want to move a fielder into the field of play, in other words, if the captain wants to move the fielder 10 yards closer, he'll go 10 yards, come in 10 yards, come in 10. That will be the signal for moving the fielder in. If, for instance, he wants to move the fielder back 10 yards, he'll go 10 yards, move back. Very clear signals all the time. If a captain wants to signal to the player on the boundary, whether he's got to be coming in and saving the two, he points two. So third man, fine leg, or a sweeper on the fence, if the captain points him and says, you've got to be saving two, it means that fielder's got to come in 5 yards from the fence and be ready to save the 2 runs. If, for instance, he signals a 1, if you're in the inner ring, it means you've got to be saving the 1. Okay? If a captain has difficulty in moving his fielders into the right place, I have a signal, for instance, for square leg. If you want to show square, it means the player's got to be on square. Sometimes you say behind square or in front of square, depending on which side of the field you are. If you want to move the fielder in the inner ring towards the outside of the inner ring, so in other words, to try and cut off 2 rather than a single, you show to him a circle, which means the fielder must be on the edge of the circle. Very often when you're playing on a short boundary, the captain would like you to stay right on the edge of the boundary. So he'll also give you the signal of stay right on the edge of the boundary. In other words, to make sure you cut off the 4 runs rather than be too close on a short boundary. Also, what is very important and vital for you to understand is that the captain sometimes wants to move the fielders into position without the opposition knowing this. Now, it's essential for you guys to watch the captain all the time, and with subtle signals, he might move you back a little bit, or to the left, or to the right, using his hand at the back so the batsman can't see and not aware of what's going on. As I said, it's vital for you to be watching the captain all the time and to understand his signals and to have clear ways of communication.
One of the most common mistakes in junior cricket happens at the end of each over. Watch this mess. And here comes poor Johnny, fine leg to fine leg all afternoon.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Go back to your original positions. The captain, come with me.
Now let's make it simple. Firstly, let's help Johnny. Mid-off to fine leg, bowler to third man, mid-on to cover. Third man to mid-on, fine leg to bowler, and captain to mid-off. Obviously, the wicket-keeper changes ends. That's easier, less movement, and therefore a faster over rate.
This way we ensure that we've got enough catches behind if he gets a nick, and we also invite him to hit through mid-on because the ball is going to be swinging away from him.
This is a very attacking field for an away swing bowler. Let's have a look at the field. Only 2 on the leg side, bat pad in a catching position, fine leg just out of shot, 7 on the off, 4 slips, gully, mid-off, and square cover.
Oh, it's gone straight to 4th slip. William, what often happens is when 2 batsmen are set and they've built a big partnership, we've got a very attacking field at the moment and we need to go on the defensive. So what we'll do is short leg, we'll move him into square leg just in front of square, saving 1 on the leg side. 3rd slip, back into third man in order to cut off the boundary from the edges that goes down to third man. And 2nd slip, we'll move into a cover position so that we can have a ring of fielders on the offside, a couple of fielders on the leg side, saving 1. Still got your 2 attacking fielders, but all in all, it's a more defensive field.
This time a 5-4 ratio leg side field. On the offside, mid-off, a gully, cover, and slip. On the leg side, a leg slip, a bat pad, mid-wicket, mid-on, and long leg.
Okay, now William, another variation to this field is if you move your leg slip a little bit wider, leg slip just come a bit wider into a leg gully position, that's enough, and then your fine leg moves a bit finer. We still want to have 5 men on the leg side because the ball is swinging in and more often than not it's going to score on the leg side. So short leg, well, you just drop back into square leg just in front of square. Our leg slip, we'll just move into back please, 10 yards, and we'll take our gully out and we'll bring him into the covers. So he can defend here as well. And we've got 3 men on the leg side in front of square. We've got the 2 men behind square on the leg side. The ball's going to be swinging in and hopefully we can defend better. Okay, William, we now have a left-hander. The ball is swinging into the right-hander. In other words, it's swinging away from the left-hander, and we want to be attacking. So we're going to look at 3 slips because the ball is moving away from him. 3 slips. Then I have a third fine leg, please. A short leg, a mid-on, and we're going to come across here. You're going to come as captain, come into mid-off again. We've got the 3 slips. Gully can come in a little bit. Okay, good. He moves around to point. You come into mid-off, saving the 1.
This then is the field for a fast bowler to a left-handed batsman. A mid-on, bat pad, fine leg, 3 slips, gully, square cover, and the captain at mid-off.
Okay, now we have a left-hander, right-arm bowler swinging the ball into him. You're going to have a slip, a gully, a point, and a mid-off. So you've got 4 fielders on the off side, we've got 5 fielders on the leg side, the ball swinging into the left hander. What we have here is an orthodox field for the left arm over the wicket bowler, seam bowler. The ball is normally angling towards the slips, so we've got 2 slips in the gully, but he's also swinging the ball in. So if he gets an inside edge, we've got the short leg in position. If we see that the ball is swinging quite a long way, and we need to have some more protection on the leg side, we take the gully across, put him into leg gully. That's if the ball is swinging quite a lot in, and we still have our fine leg there. So the fine leg will go a bit finer, and we've got leg gully in position for around the corner catches here if you bowl swinging into the batsman's legs. We can always bring the third man up into a gully position and invite him to maybe try and run the ball down to third man and have the gully man in there and try and induce him to nicking one off to the slips, and we have the guys in position there into a gully position.
As you can see, there are a lot of variations and a lot of decisions to be made when placing a field for a seam bowler. Hansi, how do you get to these decisions?
Well, I think, Bob, what you first got to look at is whether the team wants to attack, whether you want to take wickets, or whether you want to be a little bit more defensive. I think, first of all, when you walk on the field, your main aim is to take 10 wickets. So right from the start, we're going to be very attacking. We're going to, for instance, have the third man up into a third slip position.
That's quite an interesting point, Hansi. It's a contentious issue you often hear on television about whether the third man should be up or not. What makes that decision for you?
Well, I think when you walk on the field, you want to give your bowlers some encouragement. If, for instance, one of your bowlers is swinging the ball away and you feel that the batsman has got a certain weakness outside the off stump, you want to have enough catches there to invite him to nick the ball and have enough catches to catch the ball when it comes there. I know you're sometimes going to give runs away when the ball goes down to third man, but you just got to try and encourage the bowler so that he doesn't get despondent when the ball does go down there for 4 runs.
Let's have a look at the positions for an attacking off-spinner. A 6-3 leg side field. Only 3 on the off. A mid-off, silly point and slip. On the leg side, a leg slip, bat pad, silly mid-wicket, square leg behind and next to the umpire, a mid-on and a mid-wicket on the boundary.
If, for instance, with the modern game, the batsman now wants to play a sweep shot, at the moment we're not protected there if he wants to play a sweep shot. So what we're going to do is we're going to move the square leg back into deep square leg behind square to save the 4 if he wants to play a sweep shot. Okay? Square leg. Let's go back, please. Back. 5 yards off the fence. We get sometimes on wickets and they don't turn as much as this one, where the batsman will look to dominate. Now we've got to try and still have some close fielders there, but we've also got to try and cut off some of the runs. Now after talking to the bowler, you get the bowler across, speak to him, decide what line you're going to bowl on, and then have a strategy of having an in-out field, where you can maybe push off your long off back, you can then go into a mid-on area. Your man on the drive will go back into square leg, so your mid-wicket will just come round a little bit. The leg gully will just come out into the cover area to cut off the ones as well, into the cover area, and then you come in here, which means you still leave a gap through the offside. You still want him to push the ball through the mid-off area. In other words, he leaves a gap when he plays with his bat in his pad, so you can get him bowled. So the line that you're going to bowl now, bowler, is outside off stump, turning into off stump, inviting the batsman to play his shots, but you still have close fielders. And if he wants to play an attacking shot, we've got the man deep there, and we've got the man deep here. So you'll be coming into a mid-on area. Okay? So the line now is very important, is onto that off stump. Okay? Okay, now, if we want to defend even more, we bring the short leg, take a helmet off, take your helmet off, bring the short leg into a mid-wicket area, come back into mid-wicket, saving one, and then you need to push back there, but because you're the captain, you can't go back to long on. So you need to get him to drop back for us on the boundary, please, on the boundary. You come into a mid-wicket area here, so you've got a long on out, you've got a mid-wicket out, and you come into in between the two fielders there, come in saving one, okay? If you can drop back for us on the one as well, outside the off stump. This is a defensive field, just here, a little bit this way. Yeah, so now we've got people saving the single inside the ring, and we've also got men back saving the four. Now we've got a left-hander facing. The ball's turning away from him. We want to be attacking a little bit, all right? So we're going to go 6-3 on the offside. Let's go across there and set the field.
This is an attacking field for the left-hander. Let's note the positions. Mid-on, bat pad, deep backward square leg, slip, silly point, backward point, short extra cover, and mid-off.
Now what we have here is we have a very attacking field for the right-hander to the leg spin bowler. If you want to be more attacking, and after talking to the bowler, communicating with him what line he wants to bowl and what he wants the batsman to do, I think we can afford to maybe take your mid-wicket out, bring him into silly point. In other words, we want to invite the batsman to maybe look to hit the ball against the spin through the leg side, which will help us to maybe get a leading edge, or maybe hit it back to the bowler, get caught in bowl, or he'll get an edge to go to slip or to gully. And we've got enough catches there, and also we can get the bowler to catch him.
Hansi has set a very attacking 6-3 offside field for the leg spinner. A mid-off, cover, backward point, silly point, gully, slip, bat pad, mid-on, and a deep square leg on the fence. This is a different method of attack, where we will invite the batsman to drive the ball. Silly point has gone to short extra cover has gone deeper, and so will mid-off. It's now necessary for the bowler to pitch it up, encouraging the batsman to drive.
If you want to bowl a little bit straighter, we can bring the slip into a drive position. Can you come on the drive on the offside to stop the single on the offside, and also maybe if he's looking to hit it on the leg side, because we've got 2 men in front of square, but if he wants to hit it square on the leg side, maybe get a leading edge, we've got a man here catching.
Although this looks very defensive, we're still attacking with the leg spinner by trying to frustrate the batsman by making runs difficult to score.
What we have here is an orthodox attacking field for a left-arm spinner looking to bowl on middle and off stump, turning the ball away.
For the left armour, we have a 6-3 offside field. A mid-off, extra cover, backward point, silly point, slip, bat pad, deep square leg, and mid-on.
If we want to be more attacking, we can always take the cover and put him onto the drive as well, which makes one more attacking fielder going in there. So we're going to invite the batsman to try and hit the ball through this area here, hopefully make a mistake and get caught at the man on the drive, silly cover, or he's going to be caught at silly point or slip, and you're going to come in here. Sometimes we need to go a little bit on the defensive, but still try to frustrate the batsman and get himself out. So short leg, take the helmet off and move into a mid-wicket position. Mid-on will come a bit straighter. Mid-on. A bit straighter. The man on the drive will move back into the circle. Our silly point will come on the drive. and now the bowler will be inviting the batsman to drive outside off stump. So his line is going to be outside off stump, going to make the batsman drive, hopefully makes a mistake, hits the ball to the man on the drive, or he gets an edge and gets caught at slip or caught behind. You want to now, the guy is in charge, the batsman is in charge, and he's looking to score runs. And we need to defend a little bit more on the leg side. We can always take our silly cover out, the man on the drive, take him out, put him across, stick that man back to the mid-wicket fence, have him in an area, mid-wicket, but pretty square so that those two are not in a line. Mid-on will come straighter. You go a bit squarer now. Okay, and we've got a man back. So now, if he wants to bowl a little bit straighter, he's got a man back to defend the boundary shot, the shot he wants to hit to the mid-wicket fence. And we've also got a ring of fielders on the offside, but we've still got a slip in there. That's our attacking fielder. If, for instance, this guy is now totally in command and we need to slow things down a bit, we can always push our mid-on and our mid-off back into a long-on and a long-off position. So long-on will just go back. Our cover will move back to long-on. You will slot into the cover position. You move into covers. And we still have our slip. We can always bring the slip out and invite him to bowl a little bit more on the leg side and have another man across to the leg side, or we can bring the slip out and put him into a man on the drive position on the offside and bowl outside off stump.
Field placing for spin bowling for me is one of the most important ingredients of cricket. Hansi, what degree do you put on it?
Well, Bob, I think you're right. I think it's an area that has been neglected in the past in South Africa, and I think it needs a lot of improvement. To me personally, I feel there is two main areas that you have to look at. Number one, you need to look at the surface, whether it is breaking up and whether it is turning, or whether it's not turning that much. And I think secondly, you need to look at the way the batsman plays it, whether he is aggressive, whether he takes it on, or whether he plays very defensively with his bat and his pad close to each other.
Do you think sometimes that schoolboys tend to defend too much or probably attack too much and don't actually get the balance right?
Yeah, I think the main reason where we falter sometimes is that we don't have faith in the spin bowler. When the spin bowler bowls a bad ball and he gets hit for four, everybody hangs their heads, and the captain is then the guy that needs to go up to the spin bowler and show a lot of confidence in him, and then even be a little bit more aggressive and more attacking. And by this stage, the bowler must feel that he is a vitally important part of the team.
So in other words, if a spinner's on, we've got to make sure that the field's in the right place so that if he does get hit for four, that next time it actually is fielded and he's able to sort of control the batsman so he doesn't get taken off.
Yes, I think that is important, Bob. I think we've spoken about in and out fields, and I think it's very important to be able to create the pressure around the bat, but still be able to cut off the boundaries in order to make his figures look decent and still keep him confident.
So as you've just heard, it's very important as a captain that you study field placing really well for your spinner. They need you, and you need to know exactly where to put the field. Once your side's in the field and you're trying to take wickets, what are the various tactics that you use?
Well, Bob, I think first of all you need to understand the situation first, whether you're looking for wickets, whether there's been a partnership going, what are you going to try and do if a new batsman comes in, those sort of things. I think if we look at a new batsman walking to the crease, immediately when he walks to the crease, you want to put him under pressure. You want to make him aware of the situation that you're out here to try and win the game. You make him feel unwanted at the crease. We want to get him out, so we put him under pressure by setting very attacking fields for him. Alternatively, if there is a partnership and the guys are batting well, they've established a nice little partnership, and you're looking to get a wicket, and you've got a spin bowler on, maybe you want to bring in some of the deep fielders to try and induce the batsman to try and hit over the top and maybe make a mistake and get a wicket. Alternatively, if a batsman is set and you know that he wants to be in a rhythm, he wants to score freely, he wants to keep going, you want to maybe try and take the strike away from him for a little bit, and you'll be happy to give him a single, get him to the other side, get him off strike, and get the new batsman or the other batsman on strike and maybe look to get him out.
So you've got a batsman who loves to cover drive, likes to hit the ball on the offside, and
Would you try and bowl an outswing at him and block that side of the field to try and frustrate him? Would that be a tactic that you try and use?
Definitely. I think frustration definitely comes into it. And obviously, sometimes you like to leave a batsman a little bit of bait there to try and bite it. You know, if you bowl an outswing at him, it's his favourite shot, cover drive, but he goes for it, and maybe because it's early in his innings, he nicks off when you do get him out.
Let's talk one-day cricket for a minute. For example, when you're batting, there are certain areas, especially with the 15-over limitation now, that you might want to put a batsman in. You very successfully put Pat Simcox in at Sharjah. What made you do that? What sort of gave you that sort of feeling to do that?
I think you look at the opposition and you look at their bowlers, and you try and look for certain weaknesses, weak areas, or even strength areas, and you look to see how your 11 batsmen, because in one-day cricket all 11 are capable batsmen, look where all 11 can contribute the most and to maximise your team effort.
If, for example, you know a side likes to score quickly and you can prevent them from doing that, that would be a good tactic to stop them from maybe taking a wicket.
Yeah, definitely. I think frustration, as we said, definitely comes into it, and if you can keep a side quiet by slowing the run rate down, and they know they have to step up the run rate, then it can be a tactic to get a wicket. But obviously we'd like to be positive and we want to attack all the time, but there are times that you have to be very patient. In order to get the 10 wickets that you need in innings, you need to be very focused on the strengths and weaknesses of individual batsmen. Bowlers need to bowl in certain areas. You have to set your fielders in the right areas, and you need to have a game plan. And the captain's role is to develop a strategy to get these wickets, and also to make sure everybody knows it, so he communicates it to the bowlers and the fielders.
So I think, as a captain, if you listen to what Hansi said, you need a game plan. You need to be able to understand each batsman. You need to have the right tactics. Well, we've had a really great day today. We've learned how to put our field in correct positions for all the bowlers and to try and take wickets and to make things happen in cricket. Unfortunately, we can't always win. Hansi, how do you deal with defeat?
Well, I think, Bob, first of all, you've got to say that we walk on the field and we want to win. We want to do well. That's why we're training. That's why we're trying to put fielders in the right positions. But as you say, it doesn't always happen. So when you do manage to lose a game, you still got to uphold the spirit of the game. Shake hands with the umpires, thank them for the game. Also the opposition, thank them on the field for the game, and invite them afterwards into your dressing room to have a soft drink with you, or to have a good discussion in the pub afterwards.
Do you find that sometimes on the field that you've had some bad calls, bad umpiring decisions, or something that's gone wrong, and some of the players are a bit upset? How do you deal with them?
Well, obviously, if the umpire has made a mistake and everyone knows it, it's very easy to show your disapproval of the decision. But I think it's important that everybody, as I said, uphold the spirit of the game, accept the decision, and take your things and walk off, and don't show it too much, because everybody's going to get a bad decision once in a while, and the umpire is there to try and do the best job he can. He's the best man for the job. He's the best man in the best position, and you've just got to accept that decision.
So in other words, what you're saying is you've got to play it hard on the field, but when you get off the field, it's just a game and you enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure. I think the main reason why we play cricket is to enjoy it. We go out there to make friends. We meet very interesting people all over the world. And so you go out there, you try your best to beat them. You want to do well against them. So you played very hard on the field, but once you're off the field, you shake hands and you have a drink with them, and you socialise and you make friends, and you really enjoy the game.
Well, as I said before, we've had a great day. We've learnt about the art of captaincy, which is not easy, as you can see. But the most important thing, as we all found out today, is that you must enjoy the game.